The other 49 states, legislatures across the country are receiving equally somber messages about the tough fiscal times that we're facing. And the Speaker and I and our chairs of appropriations and others in this legislature intend to work together with the governor to solve our fiscal problems and to put Vermont back on a sustainable fiscal path so that we can grow jobs and get this economy moving again. As you know, we'll be holding a jobs forum on Thursday. The Speaker and I have asked business leaders across Vermont to come and talk to the legislature about one simple question. What can we do collectively as a legislature to help grow jobs and get this economy moving, get Vermonters back to work? That's our priority. We obviously haven't seen the particulars of the budget. We've just heard the message. But want to acknowledge the cooperative tone of the administration in providing us with the details of the budget as quickly as they have. Want to acknowledge the cooperative tone in briefing the Speaker and myself and others earlier about the message. And obviously we continue to pledge to work together to solve our fiscal problems. We're not going to give you a long speech, just want to outline a few principles that are going to guide us as we move the budget through the legislative session. The first is we're going to ensure that the most vulnerable Vermonters that need us so badly are not left behind. Second, we continue to be guided by the simple principle that local control in Vermont works. We want to keep it alive and well. Third, we don't want to transfer Montpelier's fiscal problems onto the backs of the property taxpayers. And finally, we want to ensure that whatever we do creates jobs and continues to let Vermonters see economic opportunities that have evaded them since this great recession hit. What did I forget, Mr. Speaker?
Well, I think that it's fair to say that this is the last budget address that any governor would want to give, and I don't think that any governor would want this to be their final budget address, but it's a reflection of the times that we're in. And I would like to reinforce the notion that the budget and the budget bill are ready to go, and we're ready to take it on in the House Appropriations Committee as soon as it gets in there. And I don't know when we'll start testimony. Chair,
Today.
The chair says that they will start testimony today, and we're ready to go. We know that we'll have difficult choices to make. I think the President Pro Tem has articulated the principles that we'll use in making those difficult decisions, but we will move forward, and we look forward to working with the administration to put together a final bill that will meet the principles that have been articulated.
Be happy to take any questions.
Any non-starter that you heard in the speech?
I don't think it's really productive for us to suggest that anything is dead on arrival. We'll need to see the details of every one of the proposals and see how they work. And I think that there will be areas where we have vigorous discussion, but I don't think we're going to take anything off the table.
What would be most an example of vigorous discussion?
Well, I think that we'd have to see the details before we could discuss.
Well, like the Medicaid premium, the higher catamount premium, the capping of the emergency room benefit, those sorts of things. Is that in conflict with what you said, Senator, about protecting the most vulnerable, for example?
I think as the Speaker indicated, we have not seen the details of the proposals, and there's often a gap between, as you know, the prose, the poetry, and the actual prose that put a budget together. So we have a lot of work to do, and I think that it's best if we try to figure out what's in the budget and take a lot of testimony on the governor's proposals. And I just want to say this, and I know the Speaker concurs with us, we're talking about significant shift in the way government does business, and it's incumbent upon us as leaders to ensure that we have an open and fair process where Vermonters are heard from, not just those that we often hear from in this building, but everybody that's affected by the governor's proposals. And obviously we have a job to do to make sure that the folks who are affected by these proposed changes are heard and listened to before we act.
When the governor mentioned his, sort of ended his section about education funding and talked about, keeping the status quo means a $59 million tax increase, that seemed to garner a lot of applause from the administration and Republicans in the chamber. I didn't see a lot of Democratic hands clapping together. Is that one of the areas of vigorous debate we can expect?
Well, I mean, as you know, we had a major disagreement with the administration a year ago over shifting the responsibility of the Teacher Retirement Fund back to the local communities. And so I suspect that we're going to have to look at those proposals carefully and ensure that they don't just end up being paid for by the property taxpayers of this state who are already feeling so much pain.
You haven't been shy about calling things dead on arrival in the past. Should Vermonters read that to say that this is more palatable to you?
I think Vermonters should, I think the Speaker and I have made really clear that we don't think Vermont is best served when the governor has to veto a budget and we have to override that veto. So as much as possible, we want to work together to do the best thing for Vermont. And the second point that the Speaker made is we're living in tough economic times. And the challenge we all have is that for every proposal that you shoot down, you have a responsibility to come up with a proposal that cuts a similar amount of money. We're agreed on 150 million, so we've got to work together to come up with better ideas and to work with the administration to try to come up with a budget that works.
How about the $10 million revenue rollback? Want to say anything about that?
What I would say is, we know that we have a $150 million challenge. With a $10 million revenue rollback, you have a $160 million challenge. That makes things more difficult. I'd like to see what's going on within the numbers, and we need to talk about it.
We also understand that when we talk about the $10 million impact, that's only because we're partially through this tax year, that we all understand that the governor identified that we had raised roughly $26 million in revenue, so if you put it all back, at some point it's 26 million, not 10. In other words, you can't have it both ways. It can't be 26 million when you raise it and 10 when you cut it. Math.
So do you anticipate a process now that will take about the same period of time as usual? Does this speed it up because you want to get out of here because it's unpleasant to you? What do you have to look forward to, you think, in terms of scheduling compared to most years?
I think that we're looking, we have said that we will likely have a 16-week session, and I think that is our current goal. We're going to be working with the administration and with the House and Senate Appropriations Committees to move things forward as quickly as possible, but it is crucial, particularly when we have difficult decisions to make, that people who are going to be impacted by those decisions have an opportunity to weigh in. And we take that very seriously. That's our obligation as legislators. We're within our communities. We actually see and hear about the impacts that these decisions will have in our communities, and we need to hear from people about all of these proposals.
Senator, last spring you said that Catamount Health was unsustainable. Do you think some changes in the deductibles or the premiums are needed?
Well, I think it's, it's obviously, the question is, how do we pay for Catamount? And there isn't a Vermonter that doesn't love the Catamount program, including me. I have said many times that it's a popular program that we want to keep alive, but it's a great example of our ability to make promises that aren't paid for. And we always come back and feel the pain from those decisions. So the question is, how do we make Catamount sustainable? And I think it's a real challenge for us that we're going to work hard on this year.